pounds, he is the great Greg Gagne.
Hey, happy Friday, TGIF. It is Straight Talk with the Boss. I'm Dominic D'Angelo, but more importantly, I am here with Greg Gagne and the boss himself, Mr. Magnum TA. Magnum, Greg, good to see you guys.
He is the boss. I'll tell you that. Thank God we got him on our team. Our town team and our team.
Yes.
I'm
Laying
on,
the hammer down.
I'm on everybody's team.
You're on everybody's. You're a team player, Magnum. Team player.
Oh, God, I'll tell you. I hope so because I've been in a mood the last couple of days.
You've been in the mood the last couple minutes. We got you fired up.
Oh, shit.
Well, we're live here on Four Horsemen Network and on Brass Ring Meter, our new home. So if you're watching live, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notifications button, and feel free to get some questions in. We already have some questions on the docket here from some fans already in the chat. So shout out to all you guys. Want to give a shout out to Triple E, CB, who's in the house, Paul Shaw. We got Matt Karcher, who's a regular, Wiles Watts. Who else we got? Oh, Charlie's in the house too, Devin Dowling. Good stuff. So get your questions in. I'll be sure to keep my eyes peeled, keep them marked, and we'll get to them here in a little bit. Did want to talk about a couple of topics going on. Let's start with I did want to start with the aspect of Saturday night's main event. Greg, I know you didn't get a chance to watch it, but I know Magnum, you did, and we had a cage match between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. John Cena taking on R-Truth, and then we also had a women's match too. Geez, I'm trying to think which one that was. What exactly went on in that one? But it was overall a really, really good show, I thought. And but Magnum, Drew, any big takeaways, especially from the Cena R-Truth thing? I think that was kind of it wasn't anything too crazy, but I thought it did its job at telling a story.
Well, it was because I mean, R-Truth has just got this very unique character that he plays so well.
Yep.
And he had told a story, that, even though John had, dropped him basically through a table after he'd gone to congratulate him and all these things, that, if he had to, he was going to beat some sense into, which obviously we all knew that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
But it did. It told the story, and John staying true to his heel mantra, and it's marching them towards wherever it is they're going with all this, which I'm still not sure exactly where that is.
No, neither do I. We did have the return of Cody Rhodes, and Cody announced that he would be tagging up with Jey Uso or challenging John Cena and Logan Paul in a tag match at Money in the Bank. And just thinking of the pairing with Logan Paul and John Cena is a pretty intriguing aspect, I think, to have in the mix. I think
it will be good. And, it was good. The story they told leading up to it, where John was basically alluding to Jay that, he's going to go, lose to this, this YouTube guy, and then, come out there and try to do him in. So it was a perfect place for Cody to reinsert himself and, got a big pop and, and he was definitely, very intense and as he should have been under the circumstances. So, again, they're ramping it up to kind of figure out where they're going with the story. But, even more interesting than all that, I happened to catch John Cena's interview with Stephanie McMahon. Did you see that by any chance, where she's doing that little travel around thing? And
no, I haven't caught any of that. I heard some clips from Dom Mysterio, but I didn't see that one. I didn't see the John Cena one.
So it's the first time I've heard him talk, not kind of out of character of his present, heel persona. And
right.
It was really unique because he was sitting in this really cool setting. I guess it's maybe a gym that's probably in his home or something. And it's got all these record boards up of things that he did over the years, lifts he made and things he did when he was at his peak and everything. And he was just talking very, realistically, where, at 48 years old, all the expectations that he'd set for himself, when he was 18 and 19 and, a young man, and the goals he accomplished and achieved were things that, he had to come to the place in his head to realize he was never going to be able to do those things again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because athletes have got this funny way of navigating life, and they've set such a bar for themselves. It's very difficult for anything that's just normal to give you satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a professional person and you can sit at a desk or work on a computer or talk on the phone and be productive, that's your norm. But if you're a professional athlete and you've honed your body to such a incredible degree, as obviously he had, and then as great as he looks, because he looks fantastic.
Oh yeah.
To be 48 years old, you have to think, he's really no happier with himself than a lot of people that are, out of shape, donut eating, just normal every average people, and that they would kill to look like him. But in his life, he's having to, he's having to like settle for almost mediocrity because he can't do, what once was. I mean, he's handling it all gracefully. He wasn't like on a pity pot, but I was listening to him very somberly, recognizing the fact that, I have to look at these achievements, these goals, these things that I accomplished that I know I'll never be able to do again, and find my exit from this business that obviously he had to have loved to have done for 20 plus years on the level that he did.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of cool thing to see outside of the lane of WWE land, and where they're going with the angle, the humanity of what he's wrestling with his life and his career. And, he's very successful, obviously, made, tens of millions of dollars in the bank and, home and wife and success, but still you can't do anything about time. Time will come knocking on everybody's door before it's all said and done over with, and you won't be what you once were. Not here, not on this planet.
Not on this planet. No. Yeah. No, it's an interesting thing. And I think too, it's like, it seems like it was a definite kind of pivot of what maybe the original farewell plans for John Cena has been, is to turn him heel and have him go on this run. And like, it seems like a little bit of an adjustment and a lot of different audibles maybe being called with the Rock coming into play and certain whatever direction they're going in, because it is a little bit of a head scratcher. Greg, what would be your ultimate way to kind of send off John Cena after this year? Would there be a certain way you would lay it out to make sure that he gets the proper send off and that makes it kind of good for him, but also good for WWE and the fans itself?
Well, after listening to TA, and I'm 76 years old, I feel like I'm out the door.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Thanks, the uplifting, and now I'm thinking about John Cena. Shit, he's only 48. He's got a lot to live for.
Yeah. So
thanks, guys. Made my day.
Boost the confidence for you, Greg.
I was just gonna roll off the chair and roll into bed here.
What wasn't meant like that?
Peeing my pants on the way out.
It was meant to put things in perspective.
Yeah, that made me feel really good. And
yeah.
Thanks, TA.
Yeah,
We want to put you in the right spirits, Greg.
Thinking, he's 48, I'm 76, and they're worried about him.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to make it to bed tonight.
So, do you have any thoughts about?
I think he's in a real good position.
Yeah.
A lot better than some. And he's got that tens of millions in the bank. And TA and I are scrounging and scratching for every dime we can get.
Oh, you speak for yourself.
Oh, okay.
I haven't missed a meal in 65 years.
Well, I haven't missed a meal, but
Greg,
I was out looking at apartments today with Laura. Because this freaking back, I have to find something where I'm on one floor.
Right.
Jesus, $3,100. But
nuts.
But you get then you get $150 for a garage stall, and if you want another one, it's another $100, so $250 for that.
My
God.
God.
Then you have to get your own cable and all this stuff. By you get done, it's almost $4,000 a month.
That's ludicrous.
And then the guy said, I said, well, how about this one down here? I kind of like that one. He says, that's for the Section 8 people. I said, the Section 8 people, what do they get? Well, they get that. I said, well, what's the cost on that one? For them, it's like $1,400. I said, well, I think I'm a Section 8 guy. Move me in there.
Section 8 Greg Gagne.
Jeez.
What a moniker that would be.
Oh, what this world's coming to. God almighty.
Nuts.
No, John Cena, he's had a great career. Unbelievable. I remember the first time he came out with those goofy shorts on, and who is this goofball? Yeah. And that goofball turned into be a tremendous athlete and a great performer in the ring. And all the best to him. He deserves it. He deserves a good send-off in this too.
Would you keep him heel, or would you ultimately turn him face near the end of this run?
I'd leave him. Well, that's a tough one. I mean, I don't know if you can go that quick, turn him back, and the people will, I guess if you have the right person in there that he turned on.
Yeah.
But you'd have to have that real guy that's really got the heat on him.
Have to be The Rock, right?
Well, that's what I was thinking too. He'd have to turn on The Rock.
Mm-hmm. We'd have to get a jump on the Magnum. Would you turn him babyface near the end of this run?
Yeah.
Would you?
100%.
100%.
Not even a question.
Yeah. That just seems like you'd leave something on the table if you didn't. Yeah.
You have to have the right person though to turn him.
Yeah.
Who would you pick for that?
It's not the right person to turn him. It's the right person for him to help in a crisis.
True.
I mean, it's all he's got. There's 101 ways they go about doing it, but I'm just saying it would be. It's hard for them keeping him there because I can already see him showing some emotion when he's leaving the ring.
Yeah,
and he's working it fantastic. Don't get me wrong; he's a true pro. But you can see it in his eyes. It's hard to just completely keep him in that cold-blooded sausage maker role because you just know like those people that see him in some of these towns know that's the last time they're ever going to see him perform live.
It's true, yeah.
So they're doing a great job with it though, and kudos to him. Because whether it was his idea or someone else's idea, he could have just had a little easy peasy, lemon squeezy, kissing babies and high fiving people run and been a cheerleader every time he went out there. But he's giving back just like so many people did for him over the years when he doesn't have to do it. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need anything to do with it. He's really giving back to the business.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he's so appreciative of the game. I hear so many stories about how John, from different legends too, like they would talk about like how John would approach them and ask them questions or know knowledge about them and their history and stuff like that. So he's certainly appreciative of what wrestling has contributed to the society and the world and pop culture. And he's part of it now. And it's a neat thing to see. And like you said, Magnum, it's not like this was beholden to him to do, or he had any obligation to fulfill with WWE at this juncture, but he's doing it. And what a change of pace this had to be for him too. I'm sure they were like, hey, how do you feel about turning heel? And I'm sure he was game to try it out. And I'm sure he's facing some challenges at doing this at the same time too, emotionally and from a storyline standpoint. So
Logan Paul might be the right one for him.
It's true too. Yeah, you could do it. Especially if you get like, I think The Rock needs to be incorporated somehow in this face turn if he's turned back. But like, I was talking on another podcast how I think it would be Cena would have to get the jump on The Rock. The Rock wouldn't have to come in and disrespect John first to make John turn. I would almost feel John would be like, no, you kind of screwed me over, and you know what? F you, Rock. And I think that would really hammer the point home.
Well, it could be as simple a thing as The Rock inserting himself somewhere in the middle of getting heat on Cody or somebody, and they think John's coming to help put the boots to him, and turns it around and smacks him. I mean, it's very simple. I knew there was another big current event that's like blowing my mind though. So, what do you think about the WrestleMania switch?
Yeah. So initially, The Rock announced that it was happening in New Orleans. and WrestleMania 42 it is. So I was excited because I went to WrestleMania when it was last in New Orleans, and I loved it. And it was just as a fan. I wasn't in the writing business at all for it all, so I just went as a fan, and I love the experience of it all. Like it's such a good, it's walkable everywhere. You can get to places really easily. But yeah, now report is that, well, it's clear it's no longer happening in New Orleans, but the report is it's happening in Las Vegas.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the report, going back to Las Vegas again, and potentially this could be a regular thing for WrestleMania. Is happening in Las Vegas? So, what do you think of that, Magnum? Since you brought it up,
I'm sure that is so. It gets back to now. You got a money-making machine in control of, the WWE, enterprise.
yes.
And I believe by all reports, more money was made in Las Vegas than's ever been made in the history of, of the deal. I don't know how sustainable it is for wrestling fans to take that huge of a financial hit every year in that same location. I know people travel from all over the world, but there's still something about the chance of WrestleMania coming to your home city that's got a, got a lure to it, and and then you get a nucleus of people in those cities that might not would have gone otherwise that do go partake, and businesses that support and everything else. So probably on black and white on paper, the model looks perfect, and it may absolutely be perfect for dollars and cents, but for the spirit of what WrestleMania represents, um, I think it's showing you, just the lane that it's taken, and I don't blame them. I mean, I heard a breakdown. I heard Cornette talking about this, as a matter of fact, a breakdown. They were talking about it on the financials with TKO and WWE, and where they came out, at the end of the year after all these bajillion dollars, and the margin was not real good. So obviously, as big as that thing is, even though there's tons of people making money, it's not making, it could be more profitable in their eyes, and they probably see, people coming to Vegas, probably willing to spend 20, 30, 40% more money than they do in traditional cities.
It's a really good point. It's like, yeah, I mean, Vegas is a hot spot. It obviously, like, places like their sister company, quote unquote, like UFC has its ties to Las Vegas and everything, and it still has got that aura of boxing happening and stuff like that, and big events. Greg, what do you think of that? Them going back to Vegas, or would you be more keen on them kind of doing what they usually do and going from city to city, making it a big event?
We had our TV show in Las Vegas, and we did our ESPN show out of there.
Right. Yeah.
And we always had great crowds there every month. A big event like that, I'm kind of with TA on that. I think you need to. I like the moving it around. Maybe the reason why is a lot of people come from out of the country to want to go to Vegas. They have a big influence out there. I mean, when we wrestled, there was people from all over the world that, they'd come down to the matches for the TV tapings. And I don't know, maybe they're looking at it that way, but it's a 4 or 5 day event, and Vegas can handle it really well.
Yeah.
But so can a lot of other cities. So I think that's a tough one. That's a tough one, because you see the glamour of Las Vegas and people that want to come there. And we have an event like that. And, when you look at the ratings, I've been watching the WWE ratings on Netflix. They're doing better in overseas right now than they are over here.
Yeah, because it's a global thing presentation to put on Netflix and everything.
So, bringing people from foreign country to Las Vegas, they're getting WrestleMania plus that.
Yeah,
casting for them, they can tie it all in together. Boy, that's really a tough one,
right?
I think you could burn it out by doing it every year there, maybe every other year, but you got to get some of these,
And if they build a Hall of Fame there, it'd probably make more sense than anywhere else you could put it to.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
just of the traffic in
Yes.
and out year round. Annually, you'd probably draw more people through it than you would, putting it in Florida or, putting it somewhere in the New York area or whatnot. You probably get more traction because they don't have those warehouses full of all those amazing things that they've gone out and ascertained from the Undertaker and everybody under the sun. I mean, they could make the coolest wrestling museum known to man.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and what a spot in Vegas that would be. Like, to your point, it's just like, yeah, you have so many rotating traffic coming in through and out there, and that would be a year-round thing. People could go and check out, wrestling fans.
You better get on board with the WWE with that idea before they take it from you.
That's it, Magnum. Get on the horn with it.
I'm just philosophizing.
The proprietor of
It's
the
great philosophy, though, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yes. Yeah, you could be the proprietor there.
Yep.
Yeah.
That could be the little guy with the cap and take your ticket when you come in.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Well, Chris Cummins here has a good follow-up with this, and this was I was going to lead off to with this. He said, "Hi, guys. What are your feelings on the hefty prices WWE now charges for everything? I feel they are truly killing the business, just not at the moment. It is becoming a little bit of a concern for me, like noting these ticket prices are really, really high for a lot of their big PLEs and their events. And then you think about it too, they're doing away more with less live events around the country and stuff like that. So less house shows and things like that. And it's more these particular go-to appointment television / events that they're really highlighting. But it seems like the prices are just wow, out of this world that I wouldn't even fathom if I was a fan to even try to attempt to buy sometimes."
Well, I think they have a good idea, though, when they come into one town and they run 4 nights there, their TV tapings, rather than, doing the big show and then going on to the next taping in the next city.
Right.
They're saving money that way. Yeah, but charging the people, you can do it on special events, but you can't do it all the time.
Right.
And to go see a Monday Night Raw, the prices should be pretty stable and easy for people to be able to take their family to it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If it's too much and the family's spending $200-300 to take the family to Raw, they can go home and watch it on TV.
And like you're pricing out a good deal of people. Like,
yeah,
I think
you really are
hurting the goodwill. I mean, that you cultivate, and wrestling fans is wrestling is so attainable for everybody that it just seems like they're getting a little too big for their britches. It seems at this point, like, hey, we're making a lot of money right now. We're really a primary spot. We're getting all these ties into pro sports and certain elements like that, pop culture again. Let's really ride this horse. But I think they're jumping a little ahead of their skis. Magnum, am I wrong on this, or do you kind of feel the same way?
So, yeah, I think that is out of control. So if you take the average price of taking a mom and a dad and 2 kids to the Super Bowl and compare it to WrestleMania, probably doesn't compare out real well.
No.
Right. And then by the way, we're going to have all these, meet and greet opportunities that cost $1 bajillion and this and that and the other. And, if you walk by and tip your hat, it costs you $500 and, just all these things. And, the thing of it is almost like a carny on steroids to me, because no, I mean, the reality of it is, 100 years ago when I was still in this, and before pay-per-view, and Greg was before pay-per-view too, like I remember the first year that the Crockett's did like $25 million in paid arena attendance. And you're out there busting it, you're doing all those things. And then, this little thing called, pay-per-view comes into being, and all of a sudden you can do as much in one night as you would do in a whole year because of pay-per-view.
Right.
So if you took the philosophy of the universe being able to see this and having to pay something to see it, where that's where you're really making the money. And then the grassroots people that organically come out and support this don't get murdered by doing it. Uh, it would be a little bit different flavor, because you got to go back and like think about the fact, like during the hardest times in this country, the Great Depression, look what Lou Thez was making back during the day, right, Greg? I mean, he was making a fortune by, wrestling when there was no money, but people were coming out to wrestling for an escape from the harsh economy and the harsh things going on in the world. So we got harsh things going on in the world today on on so many different planes you can't even wrap your head around.
Right.
Yet the thing that's supposed to be your escape now has become so debilitating that people need to save up. It's like it would be the equivalent of everything they would spend on a family vacation in the summer in a 1 or 2 day event.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah.
And again, I love it that the boys are making more money than has ever been in the history of the business. Is the thought that there's people not only making $1 million a year, but some making 10 million, 15 million, $20 million. That's great, but there's not 1,000 wrestlers all over the United States making a palatable living and being able to continue the craft and the trade today because of this great big monster that, oh, by the way, now the people, to his point, that have made this machine and been the fans are getting gouged so hard that, it's funny. I was thinking about it this morning. For some reason, it was just, I was thinking about all the fan fests and things that I've gone to. I'm going, I mean, I'm not, Bret Hart or Hulk Hogan or these guys that get crazy money, but even the thought that somebody would have to give you $40 for you to put your name on a piece of paper or a picture is absolute insanity to me. And it's all kind of whacked, to be completely honest with you. It is completely crazy. It's crazy what Greg's shopping for apartments for, what it costs to, back when I was in the top 5% of athletes in this country wrestling, and I bought a $50,000 car. That was huge in 1985, and today that won't even buy you a good pickup truck.
No. Yeah. Right.
So it's all of it. But to the guy's point, it's overpriced, but it's not going to go backwards, because now you've got more and more and more monstrous things feeding off of it, and they're not going to put it in reverse.
You don't think they'll price them?
Our economy can I don't know how our economy can withstand all of the prices that are going up in everything.
Everything.
Got some groceries there. They got one meal, and it was $70.
It's nuts.
It's nuts. Christ almighty! I want to buy some bananas, for Christ's sake. $7 for about four bananas. What the hell?
Well,
the whole economy is out of control.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen? Something's got to happen to bring it down. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It is really, really insane. And I think too, like, I think about it, and somebody brought this up. I think it was one of my buddies. He mentioned it too. He's like, like, I mean, some of these prices, like you were saying, Magnum, it's like people spend it. It's like a 2-day event where that's a summer vacation for folks, and they're putting their money into that. And my one buddy even mentioned that. It didn't even really dawn on me until he said something. He's like, and a lot of these people, these families that are doing this, they probably can't afford it a lot, what they're doing.
Well,
putting that money into, like, they're like, well, this is going to be a great experience, and I want to be a part of it, and I want my kids to be a part of it. So here's the money, even though I can't afford it right now. And so you can imagine some families are probably doing that,
Yeah, if you can see the story of the credit debt that's been created, across the board. Talk about the dark side. I promise you, there is a really dark side to the flip to this equation. And again, it was always the champion of the blue collar section of America,
Mm-hmm.
and the blue collar section of America is not making the kind of income to support this champagne budget deal. And I mean, it's just not. I mean, basketball, football, everything is more. But again, it has been like taken to just the craziest extreme because you play on these emotions of people, getting to meet their superstar, comic book hero, character, and it's not like, it's like you go to an event and you meet somebody that plays a part in a movie. Well, then you're just meeting the actor.
Yeah.
But when you go to these things, you're meeting, John Cena in character or Roman Reigns in character, and you're getting the experience of, standing next to that guy you saw do all these superhuman, things in the ring. So, yeah, they're totally, just maximizing everything they can get out of it. But one day they might have to start thinking about doing some more fan appreciation type.
I really think at some point they're gonna have to, because it's just like you're riding high on the hog right now, and it's like that business is coming in right now, but it's just like, with Greg, what you're saying with the economy, and then what's to come. It's just like this was an escape. You mentioned it too, like during the Luthez era, this was an escape for the depression of these folks, and this is still an escape during very hard times in the society in the world right now that people are trying to adapt to here. And I don't think it's something that is sustainable whatsoever. It's just still, it's a wait and see kind of thing. I understand the business move of going to Vegas and making that a potential residency, like your Wayne Newton or something like that. But I also see the point of building it up for making it a nationwide thing, and so to speak, too, at the same time. Something else that kind of ties into this too, and you guys, I'm sure, are going to be familiar with this topic, is WWE seems to really be lining up some of their shows up against AEW shows as of recent. We just had NXT Battleground take place the same night that AEW Double or Nothing took place. And then on top of it now, they have the weekend that All In is going in, arguably AEW's biggest show. It's going in down in Dallas. WWE set up some more shows that weekend to happen that people can tune into. And then there's another report. AEW is doing a little bit of residency in Philadelphia at the ECW arena late August. Well, reportedly a week before, NXT is going to be there now. So what do you think about WWE kind of taking some jabs here at AEW in certain ways? And is it dirty pool? Is it fair game? Or is it pro wrestling? Greg, let's start with you on that.
Right away, I think of Vince McMahon. I mean, basically, this is what he did. Mm-hmm. He went out and put everybody out of business. And then that's what it looks like they're trying to do here.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. Maybe they're not intentionally doing that, but it's pretty obvious that they are. And, it hurts because, maybe they want to have everything. Mm-hmm. WWE wants everything. But you have to have these different organizations running wrestling. And AEW, I'm not real fond of their presentation. Mm-hmm. But it still is keeping people working,
right?
And now, how many people have they laid off here recently?
AEW or WWE?
WWE.
They had several cuts. I know. I think employees, behind the curtain, so to speak. I think they've had a few cuts. I want to say they probably released maybe like 10 talents or something like that.
It was more like there was a little over 20 that I thought on there.
Was it 20 or so?
It's just about that, yeah. And where are they going to go? If there's no AEW or no other organization running wrestling, where are they going to go? So they're maybe they had a 3, 4, 5 year run at WWE or maybe longer, but now what do they do?
Right.
And where are you going to get the young talent from?
Right. That's it. That's an aspect too.
They're training all their young talent. I mean, they want to control everything, and kudos to them, but how are they going to keep them all busy and make them all money?
That's the aspect of it too.
I mean, make money. What they're doing is they put signing to contracts, just like the NFL or baseball does.
Mm-hmm.
And that can run out on you pretty quick.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But maybe they have the wherewithal. I mean, how many billions did they get?
They got a good amount, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, maybe they can hang in there and do that. But I'm not a fan of that. I'm a fan of expanding, but not expanding and putting people out of business.
Right. TA, actually, during the press conference, the media scrum after Double or Nothing, Tony Khan was asked about this, and he happened to mention like, oh, well, he's like, I remember this happening during Jim Crockett promotions with that stuff, and he said, but I can assure you that we're not going to be like that. Like, that's not going to end that way for us.
But to counterpoint it, we ran head to head with them in Pittsburgh and in Philly and in Baltimore, and we sold out both buildings.
Yeah.
And it showed you how many fans a big metropolitan area can really support. And if you're doing, I do look at it like, there's nights when there's multiple things you got choices to go do in any city, whether it's NASCAR or your favorite pro team or different things. So if your product, is good enough and you're drawing, the competition is just competition.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, truth be known, I think that everybody knows that AEW is good for business. Mm-hmm. It's good to you if you don't have anything to be compared to or talked about or a place for people to come from and go to. It's a very limited, desolate world. I mean, there's still good opportunities to go out of the country, go to Japan or go do certain tours and things, but to make a living out of this, takes regular work, and it's like the TNA Association getting a little rub off of WWE is a good thing, and I'm sure Joe Hendry dropping the strap to the NXT guy the other day, was very much part and parcel of the intricate woven plan of everything going on within those organizations, or they wouldn't have the trust to do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to the AEW thing, it's not my cup of tea, the overall organization, but I will never bash it because it's employing so many people in a way in which they'd never be able to be making a living in this industry. I'll always support it for that reason and that reason alone, whether I like the overall product or not.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I definitely have my thoughts about AEW and certain things like that. Double or Nothing as a pay-per-view overall was very good. It was really, really long. And that is a huge aspect that I don't like.
How long did it go?
Oh my gosh. So they did a little pre-show thing on YouTube, and I think that started at like 6 or 5:30. The show went till midnight though.
Oh,
crazy, right? And then now they're doing upcoming, they're doing a 4-hour thing on TNT because they're putting Dynamite and Collision back to back. So they're advertising that as a 4-hour event. That's upcoming this month or in June here. And then look, and serendipitously enough, WWE is actually doing a big taping here in Pittsburgh, June 30th. They're doing Raw and SmackDown because they want to give people time off for 4th of July, so they're taping both there. So some big long shows coming up.
Yeah.
It's a lot of wrestling, and I love wrestling, but I do know there's a certain threshold that you don't want to hit. And credit to the talents doing it, and then Double or Nothing being a successful show, I think. But man, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff going on.
Do you have any good questions there from anybody out there?
Oh, we got plenty of good questions here. Let's start. I think I know the answer to this one. This is a Chris Cummings one. Another one he follows up with. Greg, are you allowed to use the AWA logo at all?
No.
In any capacity? No. WWE owns the rights to that.
That's yeah. I probably call them and ask them, but I don't. They own the right to it.
They own the right to it.
Yeah.
We might have to change.
They bought all their television tapes. They bought the AWA.
Yeah. Here's a good hypothetical here from Mick Karcher, a fan of ours. If Greg and Magnum were to face the Horsemen in War Games, who would they pick as their two partners back in 1986? That's a good question. You and Magnum teaming up. Who are your two other guys in the ring with you?
You pick one and I'll pick one.
Oh, I like it.
Well, I'm picking Dusty.
Dusty, baby. Yeah.
Ooh. Dusty.
Oh, yeah.
1986. Mad Dog Vachon.
Oh, look at that. Those are some good adversaries for the Horsemen. I like it.
That'll keep them on their toes.
Definitely get Mad Dog in there with Dusty. Oh my. Yeah, you're cooking with gas there. Here's a cool question. This is from Casey is Raw Gaming and Wrestling. Greg, do you have your dad's WWE Hall of Fame plaque or ring?
I do, but I think I gave it to one of my sisters to put it. They're keeping it right now because otherwise I'd have to put it in storage. I'm not going to put it in storage.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
How was that moment for you getting to induct Vern into the WWE Hall of Fame? Did you like the whole element of it? Was it kind of bittersweet considering the aspect of what happened between WWE, Vern, and back in the day with Vince and all that stuff? Overall, what was that like for you, Greg?
Well, it was a little challenging, but we didn't, when you get in a situation like that, it meant so much for him to go into the Hall of Fame. And I know why they did it. Vince just wanted to make himself look good. See what a good guy I am. But we couldn't approach it that way. It was an honor for them to recognize him. I mean, when you go back to the old DuPont network, I mean, he came out of the Olympics in 1948 and started wrestling in 49. And in 50, the DuPont network came on. And he was the first really major star on that TV show. He was the first athlete at that time in wrestling to make over $100,000.
Yeah.
And he was smart enough to merchandise himself. He had his vitamins. He had the isometrics, which was kind of a deal he came up with working out. He was on the Art Linkletter show, the Tonight Show. He was the guy that really, Lou Thez was a champion, but Vern was the guy that was recognized, to do all that. And he did it all.
Yeah.
And in that time to make that kind of money was huge.
Well, I look at it too. I mean, I see so many names like we mentioned Ivan Koloff on here. I think about Bruiser Brody. Somebody that just hit my Instagram feed of all people was Jim Londas. And like so many of those guys are so obviously so impactful in the business and meant so much to history and the time of it all that they didn't get an induction. They just got a legacy notion. Right. So it's just
that's why we kind of started Powertown.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing, to start with those people that built this industry, the men, the women, the little people that built it.
Right.
They're the ones. The WWE wouldn't be the WWE if they wouldn't have had those people building this. And that's why we wanted to recognize them in Powertown. And it's hard to try to sell a Yukon Eric or a Hunt Schmidt to the public today. So we have to develop kind of a marketing plan that will bring back the storyline of how these people and how wrestling got to where it is today. And these are the people, the foundation that built this for the WWE, for AEW, and everybody else in wrestling.
Right. And so, like, when I look back and I'm like, wow, I'm glad at least Vern got that kind of recognition where you got to give a speech and he got the pomp and circumstance of an induction, because like, you know, you think about it, potentially today, like say if they waited this long, he might have just got a legacy induction. Like for all we know, it's just, I'm happy
if he'd even got one. If he'd even got one.
Right. Well, I think Triple H is such a student in the game. He probably would have.
He is. He is, and I give him credit because he still recognizes. You know, I mean, it was Killer Kowalski who trained him.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that was from that era.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, he knows what it's all about.
Right. Magnum, this is a question for you from Triple E. He says, did Magnum TA see Tessa and Robert Stone versus Santino and his daughter Ariana? Any thoughts or any predictions on TNA against all odds, and thoughts on Trick Williams winning the TNA title? We talked about that a little bit, Magnum.
So I've just seen stills from it. I'm going to go. I subscribed to TNA Plus, so I can go back and watch it. Thankfully, but I'm interested to see it because I'd watched the match the week before with just Tessa and his daughter. So I can imagine with the guys interacting in it, it probably was pretty unique.
Absolutely, yeah, and it speaks to the crossover potential, I think, too, of what WWE's been doing with TNA. Obviously, Trick Williams winning the title, but then it creates a little intrigue seeing Tessa mix it up in there with some NXT stars and what the possibilities that could be too for her.
Yeah, and it's all going to interweave before it's all over with, because the internet's been wanting all kinds of unique things to happen forever that people said, oh, that will never happen. This will never happen, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know, you never say never in the wrestling business. If there's enough people chattering about it and they think there's enough interest in whatever avenue of anything there is, somebody's going to say, that'd be a good storyline. We just like go like this and make this happen over here. And so, I mean, I like it that, and to be quite honest, you know, that's the reason I encouraged her to go that lane, to go there to begin with. There is no direct path from. I'm not saying people from AEW don't make their way to WWE. That's obviously, you know, been proven, but it's more often from WWE to them than vice versa. And though, you know, the Tony path is the most financially rewarding path, if you're still trying, your ultimate goal is to, you know, be in WrestleMania one day, then, you know, the TNA is the way to go.
Yeah, I think so.
I think eventually, don't you, that TKO own all of them? They're going to blend them all together?
No, there's no reason for it. Now, they already own the daggone, you know, World Series champion. The other people are just just things that I mean, there wouldn't be any value add for them to do that. There's value add for TNA to be involved and for them to mix it back and forth. There's not a revenue. You would cut the opportunity off of what they're able to do by that relationship as it is now. If it became just another, you know, not developmental center, but just another NXT-ish thing, you know, what's the purpose there? Because NXT's, you know, proven itself a strong brand and a good product, and got great talent on there, and, you know, holds its own. So, I'd like to see the same thing going on, you know, maybe with a, you know, MLW, you know, along with. I'd like to see them all, see them intertwining with more people rather than less, but sucking them all under TKO would just be, that's what got us in this pickle to begin with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we shut everybody else down. So.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of getting shut down, somebody that's familiar with that is Vince McMahon. And there's a new report here that Vince McMahon has a new company, and it's called 14th and I. And it is focusing on, hold on, let me get rid of this ad here in front of me. It says 14th and I is a private investment firm focused on the sports, media, and entertainment section. Now, that is from Brad Bloom, a former WWE executive and longtime ally at McMahon. And he's the one kind of orchestrating this all on behalf of Vince. Reports are, I've heard it online that Vince inquired trying to rebuy WWE from TKO. They said, no, that ain't happening. And so now, like, he's trying to get the wheels in motion, maybe for some sort of entertainment company. Could either of you fathom Vince McMahon getting back in the wrestling business?
Hope not.
Well, if he I'll say if he was willing to put enough juice to it, and there'd be a third league of television quality product and competitiveness, I'd be all about it, because that means more opportunity for more of the kids to do what they love, and another variety of adaptation to the craft, and yeah, that would have something to it.
Yeah, that would, but wouldn't you want to have somebody else running it?
Oh, I'm not going to talk about who you're in bed with. That's
Okay.
I could say the same thing about all the organizations. If you want to peel back the layers of the onion, you're not going to like the skin on any of them.
No.
Well, that's the thing too, is like, Megan, you make a great point. It's just like, yeah, the more wrestling involvement, the better for the overall industry of it all. Like, you want to see the business kind of persevere and succeed, and sure,
Will it kill it? The more, I mean, how many, TV, when something's successful, they try to make another show just like it, and eventually they make so many of them like it that they all go down.
But how many times too have we heard like, oh, wrestling's going to go away of roller derby, or wrestling's going to go away of like some other stuff that is, and it doesn't really happen. Is that like, it's always kind of persevered.
Sorry.
It's all right, Hollywood, we get it.
Shoot.
Listen, I want to see Greg on Saturday Night's Main Event calling the action. That's what you never say never. I want that to happen.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. We'll close out with this. I'll take a couple.
Rosenthal.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, no, it wasn't. He doesn't call me anymore.
Well, hey, so some aspect that I did want to make mention of. So I know, Greg, you didn't watch Saturday Night's Main Event, but they had the cage match.
Mm-hmm.
A big thing about it was Jesse Ventura was very critical of the cage match. Damian Priest won the match. He beat Drew McIntyre with a steel chair and walked out of the door. And so,
what did Jesse like about it?
He didn't like that Damian Priest walked out the door. Said
Where
it was
should he
like,
have gone?
He said he should have climbed over the cage and walked out like that. And he's
like Jesse would have done that.
Well, so my thought process.
He's so full of, and I won't say it.
I got Greg fired up.
God almighty.
My thought process.
He wouldn't have had Adrian Adonis. I mean, he could talk him in there, but Adrian worked the freaking match. God almighty.
Well, how many times did freaking Bruno walk out of the door, right? It's like, isn't that the point of a steel cage?
Yeah,
that's what so bad.
Getting out. Yeah.
Yeah.
They unlock the door at the end, and that guy that won goes out.
Goes out the door.
Where do you want to go? Over the top?
You beat your opponent so bad that you can walk out on your own volition. That's the name of the cage.
If you're beat up that bad, how are you going to crawl up over the top of that thing and hang on and get yourself down?
I'm glad I got you fired up, Greg. Man, my whole goal.
He's been in the garden too much.
You want the counterpoint now?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, so here it goes.
I like it. Magnum, fire him up again.
No. So the Jesse-ism aside, it was flat. It was completely flat.
Mm-hmm.
After the epic battles that those two had, and that Drew had won with the last 2 or 3 confrontations they'd had, it didn't to me, the win didn't to me elevate Damian Priest unless they just want to make him a heel. If they want to make him a heel and they were to play off of that, I get it. But to make him, to make him it didn't do to me what the victory should have done. And to Jesse's point, it was just very vanilla. It's like, a mouthful of oatmeal, no sugar on the end of this classic Gone with the Wind tale that, journey that these two had taken everybody on. And then he just walked out the door. Yeah. Kick the dust off his shoes. See you later. Bye. Yeah.
Well, here's one for you. Mad Dog Vachon and Crusher had a cage match.
Uh-huh.
Same thing. I mean, it was a bloody mess. But
Sure.
then when I think the Mad Dog or Crusher won, he went to walk out. His brother, the butcher, came out and slammed the door on his head.
Yeah.
And boom, and then down he went. And they had to end up hauling him out.
Wow.
You know, so
But that was exciting.
That was exciting aspect.
yeah, just
Just
walking
have
out of there after that,
Hey, sir, open the
killing
door.
each other in there. Now you just go, oh, here we go. It's all over.
Oh, that's what they did with the infamous Freebirds Von Erichs. That's how the whole feud started. Is Michael PSA slamming the door on Kerry's head in the Ric Flair cage match. But that's a great counterpoint, Magnum. Holy smokes, I didn't think of it that way. Like, it's really true. Like,
I like it.
I mean, he reacted. It was kind of cool because Jesse reacted like he wasn't reading the script. Like,
that's what I liked about it in a way.
Like,
right?
what, that sucked. What? You took us all the way here to do that. He just walked out the door, and it was like, okay, we're all tired now. Let's and this happens, and then you walk out the door.
Yeah. Greg, I'm gonna make this like an episode of Maury, and one of these days I'm just gonna well, guess who I got here, Jesse. Pop Jesse.
Get him on there. We'll get him on.
Get him on here.
No, he'd talk the whole hour. Once you ask him one question, it'd be the whole hour.
I told you I interviewed him once, didn't I?
Did you?
I interviewed him like 2 years ago. Literally, I probably asked 3 questions, and 3/4 of it was not wrestling whatsoever. I got some wrestling questions in at the end, but talked about superstar Billy Graham and Bruno a little bit. But okay, good stuff. Let me see if there's one more question I want to take here. Taking a look. Here we go. We'll close it with this one. This is a off the wall question, but I think this will be an intriguing one to make a YouTube clip out of. CB asks, question for Greg and Magnum and Dom. What do you think about Paige, aka Saraya, calling out pervy fans at autograph signings? Did you guys see any of that happening? Did you hear about that, Magnum?
So she's right for calling them out for being inappropriate. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
No, nobody's got the right to just reach out and touch somebody or be inappropriate or try to kiss them on the mouth or
100%.
any of that kind of stuff. But I will say that it's a slippery slope when all people know of you is the vibe that you put out on social media, the way things look, the allure, all the sex. Well, I'm not saying that justifies any of it.
Yeah.
But you have to be aware that if that's what, it's no different than, I'm sure Pam Anderson dealt with back in the day in the 80s when she was, 80s, 90s, whenever she was around, all those girls that are, do those things, but most of them wouldn't do a thing like a fan fest type thing to how to interact with any people like that, unless they were doing the adult thing in Vegas at the, that creepy show. But it's a bad message in general, because you get fans, you get followers, you get people that are obviously Googling your pictures because you're hot commodity, and you're we're out there showing all the skin and being all the erotica, and then those people who are maybe wired just right to begin with, see you in person and act inappropriately, and they shouldn't do it at all. Am I surprised? Not at all.
Yeah.
Because frankly, that's the world we live in, and you can't have people fantasizing about these women in that light and not seeing them because of their beautiful mind or their talent, but just their sex appeal. it opens them up to some creepy people. And we actually called them out, but
Yeah.
I'm not surprised about it at all because it's it's just unfortunate.
It is. It is. You hear about them getting accosted too at airports, like wrestlers in general. But then on top of it too, it's like, yeah, you like there is that different dichotomy of these wrestlers going to signings and things like that, and then you have this bridge with social media where it's like they're accessible, but you get these fans can get a little delusional. It's like you do attract a certain fan base when it comes to wrestling fans in certain ways, and that's not to disparage them in any sort of imagination, but it's at the same time it is, you do attract a certain fan base that kind of have a different, there might not be wired all the right way, or certain aspects where they create their own fantasies in their own head, and then they get to finally meet you. Well, look at what they created in their own head, and look at what they think is reality.
If you go back in time, and you mentioned the Von Erichs earlier. I remember in my career, I mean, when you'd come to the back door of these buildings, and you'd have to sometimes get through 200-300 people to get to where the secured area was, and you would get physically accosted by females that granted, all of this was all cool, it's like Elvis coming in the building or whatever, but if you put it in today's context of the way the world looks at it today, that stuff was going on 30-40 years ago. And so you imagine with the hot mess of what people are exposed to on the internet and the visual imagery and everything, and then get to come in physical contact with them. Ooh.
Yeah.
TA, when you went through those lines, did you keep going right through them?
I came in Charlotte one night, and I remember I had on a white polo shirt, and I carried a briefcase and a bag over my shoulder. And when I came in the door, my hair was everywhere. I had lipstick all over me. My shirt was half ripped, and I looked like I'd just been in a flipping lion's den with a bunch of female lions in heat, and attacked. And and you couldn't tell who was what. You didn't know whether
moving,
it was
though, right? You just kept moving.
Oh, yeah, or I'd have gone to the ground and been going.
Oh shit! I stopped. Are you kidding me?
Well, that's why you're the magnificent one.
That's why you're the facilitator, Greg. You're the facilitator. Your nickname.
No, I know what you mean. It was mind-boggling sometimes, and so you didn't want to be, with the images we had, you didn't want to be mean, but my God, it just got totally out of control sometimes.
I believe it.
Imagine those girls having to come in an arena, without the security and all the stuff they've got today. I mean, guys would have gotten arrested and thrown in jail back then for that, but they didn't ever, they never grabbed one of those girls.
No.
You were just a piece of meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say this too. I mean, like when I first worked at Whole Foods, I was on the front end and like cashier register stuff. And so I was doing my thing, and there was some girls too that did the same job I did behind the register, obviously. And so like you'd run into so many people going through that line on a weekend or whatever it was, and you'd get some nut jobs in there. And but like I remember talking to some of my coworkers that were female, and they had some real horror stories about some stuff that would be said to them, or like what guys would imply to them. And I'm like, wow, I've never that didn't happen to me in my line. But it's like you think about even just that.
None of the guys hit on you?
None of the guys, none of the gals. It was it's just I was more focused on making sure the produce was taken care of in the bag.
That'd be, yep.
Stack the bananas on top, and you keep the heavy stuff at the bottom.
Yeah, well, we were trying to keep the bananas on top too.
And with that, that'll do it for this week's show.
We'll have more banana stories next week.
More banana stories next week. That's Greg Gagne.
He's got a lot of them.
You can follow him at Gagne.Greg on Instagram. That's Magnum TA. He's the boss. You can follow him on Instagram at Magnum_TA. And that's my name right there, Dominic D'Angelo. You can follow me at Dominic D'Angelo on X. But be sure to like, Brass Ring Media. If you're watching in on the Four Horsemen Network, we go live on the Four Horsemen Network, but our residence is at Brass Ring Media. So be sure to seek that channel out. Type in Brass Ring Media. You'll see the logo there. And be sure to like, subscribe, and help us out. We want to grow this.
Get that merchandise.
We're going to get some more merchandise here coming up. We're going to do a relocation. I'm doing a team meeting coming up here, and we're going to get the merchandise is not available right now, but we'll bring it back. We're going to bring it back.
Perfect.
So stay tuned for that, everybody. But
keep up the good work. TA, you keep up the good work.
Yes.
And everybody out there, we'll see you next week.
Yes. Thank you all for tuning in. Devin Dowling, Charlie, we got Triple E, and Matt Karcher, obviously. So many people. Little Patty popped in here for a little bit too. I saw her in there. So shout out to everybody.
We got to get to more of their questions.
We definitely do. We definitely do. So we appreciate all the questions coming in. And yeah, maybe what I'll do earlier in the week before we record, I'll try to gauge and get some questions early on before that.
All right. Perfect.
All right, gang. See you next time here on Straight Talk with the Boss. That's Magnum TA, and that's a facilitator, Greg Gagne. Keep bananas on top, everybody.
All right.